There's a storm brewing in Cleveland, and it has nothing to do with the weather. A name that's been whispered, doubted, and debated for months is finally making headlines for a very different reason. Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime's youngest, the so-called flashy QB people love to hate, just got the type of backing that changes locker rooms, and maybe even changes franchises. But here's the twist: it didn't come from a coach, not some generic media plug, no PR stunt. This came from someone who actually bleeds next season football, someone inside the building, one of his own teammates. And what he said, let's just say it wasn't the kind of polite, pre-rehearsed, he's a cool guy take you're used to hearing. No, this was personal, confident, and bold. It's got fans talking. It's got analysts raising eyebrows. And it could flip the entire tired narrative around Shedeur faster than anyone expected. For months, the media circus has done everything it could to write this kid off. Rumors flying about Malik Willis. Clickbait headlines dragging his name into every fake QB battle possible. Talking heads saying he wouldn't last a year behind a real NFL line. But here's the thing no one expected. The more they talk, the more the locker room seems to rally behind him. Judkins, a key piece of this Browns offense, didn't just support Shedeur. He confirmed what many weren't ready to admit. He's not just in the building, he might be running it already. And now the conversation's changing. So it's time to break it all down. The quote that set it off, the subtle message behind the words, and what this all means for Deshaun Watson, the 2026 draft, and the future of football in Cleveland. Because if what this teammate said is even half true, then Shedeur Sanders isn't fighting for the job. He's already won the room, and everything else might just need to catch up. If you've paid attention to the NFL offseason, even just a little, you've probably noticed something strange happening around the name Shedeur Sanders. He's not even officially QB1 yet, hasn't taken a snap under center for the Browns, and still, his name is in the headlines more than most starting quarterbacks. Why? Not because of what he's done, but because of what the rumor mill thinks he might never do. Every week, it feels like a new name gets thrown into the Cleveland QB conversation. Malik Willis, Mac Jones. Some outlets have even floated wildcard trades or mid-round draft picks as possible threats. Why? Not because those QBs make sense, but simply because Shedeur's name alone grabs clicks. Some say he's unproven. Others claim he's only here because of his last name. And of course, there are the loudest voices, the ones calling him a project, saying the NFL game will swallow him whole. No matter how clear the tape is, no matter what coaches or insiders are hinting, the narrative keeps spinning. He's not ready. He's not the guy. But here's the part they don't talk about. The part that makes this much more than typical offseason noise. Some of these stories aren't just opinions, they're strategic distractions. This is the NFL offseason, aka silly season. It's the time of year where misinformation gets leaked on purpose, where agents push narratives to raise their clients' stock, and where reporters will latch onto any name that generates buzz, even if it means dragging a young quarterback through months of speculation, slander, and doubt. And let's be honest, Shedeur fits the bill perfectly. Polarizing, popular, marketable, a kid with a famous dad, a flashy watch, and enough swagger to make headlines whether he plays or not. But here's the question no one's asking. If all this doubt is real, why are his teammates saying the complete opposite? That's what we need to talk about. Because while the media keeps playing chess with fake QB battles and hot takes, someone inside that locker room just blew the cover straight off everything. And what he said about Shedeur Sanders, it didn't sound like hype. It sounded like belief. In all the media noise, fan takes, and front office guesswork, there's one perspective that always matters more than the rest: the players actually on the field. Not the armchair experts, not the scouts giving anonymous quotes, not even the analysts paid to stir debate. And that's exactly what makes this moment different. Because this isn't just any player giving Shedeur a quick shout-out or saying the right thing to keep the peace. This was Quinshon Judkins, a young star in his own right, a rising powerhouse in the backfield, speaking unfiltered on a podcast. No script, no NFL microphone in his face, just honesty. When asked about what it's like having Shedeur as QB1, Judkins didn't hold back. "Man, it's fun. Shedeur, he's a great talent. Also, he's got a good personality. He's fun to be around. Me and him are very attentive to detail in practice." Right there, he gave you more than just praise. This wasn't a surface level, "yeah, he's cool" statement. This was about chemistry, work ethic, repetition, attention to detail. These are words that only matter when you're really in the grind with someone day in and day out. But it didn't stop there. When asked if Shedeur was truly a leader in the locker room, Judkins made it crystal clear. To be a quarterback, you have to have that locker room and have a voice. "I think a lot of the guys believe in him. Just having that relationship with each other, I think it means a lot." Let that sink in. A lot of the guys believe in him. In NFL locker rooms, nothing happens by accident. Belief isn't handed out for free. Guys don't just anoint someone a leader because the cameras are on, especially when you're a young QB coming into a league stacked with talent and egos. You have to earn that trust. It doesn't come from interviews or draft hype. It comes from how you work, how you carry yourself, and how you show up every single day. And based on what Judkins just said, it sounds like Shedeur is already building something real inside that locker room. The kind of trust that isn't written in headlines, but gets written in wins. If one of the team's biggest offensive weapons is this confident in his quarterback, what does that say about where this team's energy is already starting to shift? Because let's be honest, this doesn't sound like a guy trying to politely back the backup. This sounds like a player standing behind his quarterback. On the surface, what Judkins said sounds like typical locker room support. A teammate saying nice things about his quarterback. No big deal, right? But if you really stop and think about it, it's the biggest deal of all. Because in the NFL, locker rooms don't lie. Players can bluff to cameras, coaches can play politics with depth charts, media can spin whatever sells. But behind closed doors, when the helmets go on and the pads start cracking, the truth always shows itself. And what Judkins just told the world, without even trying, is that Shedeur Sanders already has something way more valuable than a starting role: the room. That phrase, "a lot of the guys believe in him," isn't just a compliment. It's a flag planted in the middle of the locker room. Because belief isn't abstract. It doesn't come from hype or headlines. It's built during two-a-days after long practices in film rooms and in the way someone shows up when no one's watching. Let's put it plainly. If Judkins has this kind of chemistry and respect for Shedeur already, he's not alone. NFL teams don't operate off one relationship. If one guy says it publicly, 10 more have probably already said it privately. And from there, that energy spreads. It starts small. A few wide receivers start seeing what Judkins sees: Shedeur's attention to detail, his accountability, his style on and off the field. Next thing you know, the O-line starts protecting just a little bit harder, that extra half second longer. The defense starts respecting the QB during team drills. The locker room adjusts, shifts, and eventually chooses its leader, whether the coaches or execs say anything or not. So sure, Deshaun Watson might still lead the depth chart. He's got the past, the resume, the contract. But forming a franchise isn't about that. It's about the guy who earns the room, fights through the doubts, and gets people behind him when the eyes of the world are somewhere else. And for Judkins to casually say that many in the locker room already believe in Shedeur, that should have sent shockwaves through the Browns' front office, because belief is contagious. And once it spreads, it's almost impossible to reverse. This is how QB transitions really happen, not with a big announcement or a press conference. They start with small shifts, quiet confidence, a few key players building loyalty towards someone they trust, before the media catches on, before the headlines change. And with Shedeur Sanders, it looks like that shift has already begun. So now the only real question is, who else in the building feels the same way but hasn't said it aloud yet? Because if Judkins is just the first, he won't be the last. If you only listen to the national sports media, Shedeur Sanders would sound more like an Instagram celebrity than a serious NFL quarterback. Flashy watches, press conference moments, being Coach Prime's son, those are the things the headlines focus on. Not the tape, not the leadership, not the work ethic. And definitely not what his teammates are saying. Instead, the conversation around Shedeur has been intentionally shaped, framed in a way that cheapens his potential. If he struggles, well, we expected that. If he succeeds, he's only here because of Dan. It's a narrative trap, and he's been stuck in it since long before the combine. And yet, the media has something they don't talk about nearly enough: doubt fatigue. Because eventually, fans start seeing through it. Smart viewers, like the ones watching this video, notice the patterns. Why are we hearing so much about Malik Willis out of nowhere? Why throw Mac Jones into the conversation when he's barely clinging to relevance? Why does every news cycle seem to circle back to discrediting Shedeur, even when there's no new info? Simple, when a player becomes polarizing, he becomes clickable. The media doesn't need proof he'll fail. They just need enough smoke to generate clicks, controversy, and conversation. But something strange happened recently. Even the critics are starting to shift. Take Mary Kay Cabot, for example, a veteran Browns insider known for her takes on all things Cleveland. All offseason, her tone around Shedeur was lukewarm at best. Vague praise, heavy skepticism. But just weeks after Judkins went public, her statements changed. Suddenly, she praised Sanders' composure, noted his leadership qualities, even suggested the Browns might be grooming him long-term. What changed? Did she see something in practice? Hear something from the front office? Or maybe she just realized the locker room is speaking louder than the media now. And that presents a problem for every analyst still clinging to outdated narratives. Because if Mary Kay's shifting, others will follow. When insiders start hearing whispers from inside the building, real whispers, they start to pivot fast. And let's be real, no spin job survives a locker room revolt. That's why this moment matters. It's not just one teammate giving props. It's not just Judkins saying Shedeur is fun to be around. It's about showing that the foundation is already forming while the industry keeps looking elsewhere. By the time the media turns the narrative boat around, the guys in that Browns locker room might already be on board with a whole different captain. So next time you hear another talking head throwing out names like it's a game of QB roulette, remember this: there's a growing difference between what the media is saying and what the players actually know. And what happens when both stories collide? Well, let's just say that's where things start getting interesting. At the surface, everything looks normal. Deshaun Watson's still under center technically. The coaching staff is quiet. The front office hasn't said anything loud or controversial. And if you just glance at the headlines, you'd think Shedeur Sanders is just another backup learning the ropes. But start peeling back the layers, and you'll see a very different story unfolding, one the public hasn't fully caught onto yet. Let's start with what we do know. General Manager Andrew Berry made it crystal clear going into this season. He's building a team that can develop, not just win now, but grow talent, shape young stars, and create a system where the pieces mature together long-term. That's not a message you send when you're going all in on a veteran quarterback like Deshaun Watson. Because here's the reality: Watson is that young anymore. His window isn't 5 years, it might not even be 2. His injury history is starting to look more like a pattern. The guaranteed money is there, but the patience for inconsistent play, that's running out, fast. And with each passing season of mystery surrounding Watson's trajectory, the Browns have quietly been shifting gears. Enter Shedeur Sanders. Not as a rookie savior, not as a PR move, but as a calculated investment. The kind of investment a smart front office commits to before they're forced to, before the media pressures them to act, before the fans start chanting for change. Because if you listen closely, you'll notice the Browns aren't shutting down Shedeur speculation. They're letting it simmer. They're not rushing to squash trade rumors. They're not cutting off the story before it grows. Why? Because sometimes silence is strategic. Every decision Andrew Berry and this staff has made over the past few months follows one theme: development, bringing in younger receivers, creating competition at RB, placing value on culture and chemistry. So what better way to anchor that kind of rebuild than with a QB who's young, coachable, and already earning the locker room's respect? That's not a stepping stone backup, that's a blueprint. And it gets even more interesting when you consider the Browns' positioning going into the 2026 NFL Draft. They're sitting on picks. They're looking to build, not just plug holes, and drafting weapons to elevate a young QB. That's exactly how franchise turnarounds happen. We've seen this formula work in Philly, in Jacksonville, even in Houston. So is it really that far-fetched to imagine Andrew Berry's version of the future doesn't include Watson? Not if you're paying attention. Of course, the team isn't going to scream that from the rooftops. There are contracts, PR angles, sponsorships, expectations. But behind the scenes, the picture is getting clearer with every quote, every draft meeting, every locker room interaction. And with every player like Judkins stepping forward and making it known that they trust Shedeur, that quiet plan becomes just a little less silent. This isn't just about giving a young QB a shot. This might be about handing him the keys slowly, until nobody questions whether he earned them. Let's stop playing in the gray area and just ask the real question. Is Shedeur Sanders already the guy, and nobody's saying it out loud? Because when it comes down to it, every NFL locker room has one leader. Not two, not three, just one. And despite what the official quarterback depth chart says, that leadership is never based on titles, it's based on presence. And presence, Shedeur Sanders has it. Forget the media chatter. Forget the fans still clinging to Deshaun Watson's past highlights. Players like Quinshon Judkins, guys who are putting in real work, building real chemistry, don't talk like that about someone they view as temporary. They don't connect that deeply with a placeholder. They support guys they actually see themselves going to war with. And that's why this moment is bigger than it looks. Because once a locker room vibes with a quarterback, once they start joking with him off the field, repeating his energy on the field and looking to him during key moments, it's already decided. That's the moment a quarterback becomes the guy, long before the press ever finds out. And based on everything we've seen, Shedeur's demeanor, his work ethic, his relationship with teammates, and now the way guys are starting to speak up, it's clear something important is building inside that organization. This isn't speculation. It's momentum. And momentum in the NFL is dangerous. So no, Shedeur might not be starting today. He might not be holding press conferences as QB1. But he doesn't have to. Because if the locker room walked into the season with him as their leader, it's already done. In a league where everything changes at the speed of a headline, it's easy to miss the quiet shifts, the ones happening behind closed doors, without fanfare, without breaking news alerts. But make no mistake, something is shifting in Cleveland. One by one, the signs are stacking up. A teammate goes public and praises his quarterback not just for talent, but for leadership. The media starts rewording their takes, softening their skepticism. The GM doubles down on youth, development, and creating the right culture. And all the while, fans are split, some still clinging to the past, others sensing that something new is coming. That something new might be Shedeur Sanders. Not just as a rookie underdog, but as a future franchise cornerstone. A leader who's not asking for your approval. He's already earning the one that matters most, the locker room. And once you earn that, the rest tends to fall into place. Because here's the truth no analyst wants to admit. The NFL doesn't decide its future with press releases or PowerPoints. It moves with momentum, with timing, and with teams quietly making bold bets before anyone else sees them coming. So while the media is still running mock drafts, and some fans are shouting for trade moves or a quarterback controversy, the Browns might already know exactly where they're heading. They just haven't told us yet. But if this continues, if Judkins is just the first voice of many, then it won't be long before the conversation changes completely. It won't be about if Shedeur is the future. It'll be why they waited so long to say it. So as the offseason unfolds, keep your eyes on the energy inside the Browns building, not the rumors outside it. Watch for who steps up to defend Shedeur, who builds chemistry with him, who follows his lead. Because leaders don't always arrive with a title. Sometimes, the team chooses them before the coaches do. And when that happens, everything else is just catching up. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders already the leader in Cleveland? Or do you think the Browns are still holding out for something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're backing Shedeur, and make sure to subscribe for more updates as this story keeps unfolding. Until next time, stay loud, stay sharp, and stay locked in.